the A.I.P channel where anything is possible. Oop. And tonight we have just a spur of the moment special guest. We got James Salcido of Salcido Paranormal. And we're testing stuff and just going to talk. And he's going to tell some stories. And we're just going to have a good time. It's a sunny night, chill night. And we're just going to wing it. Swing for the fences, as I like to say. Welcome, James.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm glad that it worked out and that all the tech worked out for us. And because, as we know, it doesn't always work for everybody all the time. So I'm glad that it worked out this in this case anyway.
For sure, for sure. Go ahead and then for the ones that I know a lot of the viewers are going to be a lot of the trouble minds, but if you have anybody that's not trouble minds viewer, tell just give them a little backstory about you, who you are, and I know you got books and your own podcasts and all kinds of cool stuff. So just give everybody a backstory. So uh, if you would,
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so my name is James Salcido. I have had experiences with the paranormal or unexplained or whatever you want to call all of these things that a lot of people don't like to talk about. In a lot of cases, I've had experiences with them since I was a kid, uh, on and off. I don't have experiences every day. I'm very lucky in that that doesn't happen. I've heard of accounts where people do have that, and I can't imagine what that's like. But I had enough where I started looking into all these things and wanting to look into things more, and just started listening to all different podcasts and TV shows about all these things. And I was already writing fiction as a teenager, going all throughout on and off my life. Just I loved writing, but then I was thinking about it, and I heard all these other shows, and I thought that sounds like it could be fun. Um, and so I decided to try it, and yeah, now I'm at the point where I've been going for 4 years. It'll be 5 years later on this year on Halloween. As far as my podcast goes, which of course that's Salcido Paranormal. For anyone that wants to look it up, that's Salsido Paranormal, and you can search that on any web search, or you can also just go to salsidoparanormal.com, and that has all the episodes there, and social media and ways to listen and ways to support the show, and all those things are right there.
for sure, for sure. I know you're also like I am, and so many others on the Trouble Minds Radio Network, the digital broadcasting KUPD. I always get the initials messed up. That's always the hard
KUAP.
part. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I always get them mixed up every time. I say something different every week, I think.
I usually do okay, I think, anyway, unless I'm completely not noticing. But yeah, yep. It's great to be part of a network like that, part of a group like that of people that are friends that I trust, because I never would have expected to, or would have trusted anyone else if I didn't know them to have my show on a network like that. But yeah, so I'm very grateful to be with everyone here on the network, and that's how we met, of course, through listening to Trouble Minds Radio itself and talking on there, and then just talking and elsewhere, and having you on my show as well a little while back.
Yeah, that was fun. I think it was yours. My mom listened to it and was tell me stories and stuff about like her grandma was how sensitive her grandma was to certain things, and so it and just kind of let me know that it runs in the family, Ricky. That's what she told me. It kind of runs in the family, so it's pretty neat to hear certain hearing those stories and stuff. Just that reassurance, that you know not just because you see something or you're not you sense something or something like that, it don't make you crazy or insane and nothing like that. It just means you have a special gift and you're able to see something that most people can't. And uh, it can be scary, but it is a it is a gift, I believe.
Yeah, I think so overall. It can be frightening at times. I never doubt that. I've had a few times over the years where I have been frightened, but in general, for the most part, it has been amazing. Just mostly amazing, and I think a big part of that is just trusting your feelings. How sort of the energy or the feelings that you get from whatever you're experiencing, and but not letting your fear of whatever's going on color that, affect that, because I do think that that fear can be that can come from just misunderstanding or not knowing at all, which is understandable, but I think it can sort of cloud our judgment at times, when it comes to all these things, and make things seem a lot maybe more frightening or more scary or more menacing than they really might be at times.
For sure, for sure. I mean, we of course you can get it on our own mind of not all times when you thinking something's there is it's not a paranormal thing. Of course, it's uh, but a lot of times there are. It's of course you can have a lot of electrical energy in a house or something like that might cause it. But when you go into places and it's got no power or nothing, no reasoning. Like like I told on yours, but like I seen all them orbs going over a graveyard. Of course, there wasn't no power or anything over there. It was
Yeah,
just absolutely one of them scary. It was scary as you know, yeah, as hell to me at the time, But now, I'm a little more comfortable, I guess, with the situation. But
right.
still, it was wild.
Yeah, it's no, and it's that's the thing. Everyone is going to have different reactions to experiences and all that. So um, I don't know. And just in my case, I had enough of them over the years where I realized most of the time there was no negative feeling to them, other than my own. In some cases, other than my own fear to whatever I was seeing or hearing or experiencing, and sometimes it was not even so much fear; it was just I was startled. Um, I have a perfect example of that. I really when I moved into my apartment about 16, 17 years ago, um, I had a series of experiences here, and one of the first ones was in the middle of the day. I was laying down. I had a couch. It was a love seat, but had a couch bed in it, and I would use that sometimes in the middle of the day and pull it out and just lay on there and listen to TV and watch whatever TV I could. And I had gone out and done errands, and I'd come back home and I locked the door and everything and got out the bed and laid down, fell asleep, and I woke up at some point because I felt someone sit down on the bed next to me. Now I live alone, and so I felt someone sit down next to me and lean against the side of my leg, and I sort of mumbled something like "Who's there?" And I heard this teenage girl, maybe young teens at the oldest, laugh and say, "How can there be anyone here when you've double locked the door?" Which of course I had, and that startled me. I wasn't really afraid, but I was definitely startled. And I sat up and looked around, and of course, as I sat up and opened my eyes, the pressure lifted, and there was no one there when I looked around, and I didn't hear any footsteps running away either. And my apartment is so small, I can basically be hearing whatever's going on anywhere in the apartment. So, um, but that was really amazing. I mean, at the time it was startling, but really I wasn't frightened. So, but again, that's after years of having other experiences where I kind of was frightened. So I think sometimes it can just take time and experiences to get to that point.
Oh, for sure. It's like everything you do. The more things happen, the more um, situations you get comfortable with it. The more you do, the more you've done your podcast, the better you got doing your podcast, or and then of course the paranormal stuff. It's the more things happen, the more, um, and that's on one side you kind of see it. They're not. Most times they're not trying to hurt you and like that. So you just kind of sit back and try and figure out what why they here and what they're doing. Uh, I had it, which it freaked me out for a second. I went a couple was it last weekend or weekend before last? I don't know. Everything's a blur. But I went. I had like a little bonfire at my. I just bought some land. I'm working on. Trying to move out there and all that kind of stuff. So I've been doing like clearing and I bought. I had a bunch of brush and stuff. So I had some friends over for a bonfire and man, it got about midnight and all of a sudden the wind did pick up, but all of a sudden you heard this weird sound come through the woods and then you could and then at first it would have freaked you out, kind of deal. And then I was like, oh, that's wind chimes, and that's what somebody else said too. That's some wind chimes, and it, but um, stuff like that can make you freak out all of a sudden. Like I said, all of a sudden you hear weird sounds, and especially at a place you're not used to being, and but then being at home and hearing stuff and feeling stuff, I've seen that. I felt that too. I've had stuff mess with me at home, and it's been a lot. Not here. Well, I have had people think stuff mess with here, but like with the bed, I had a I had a ghost actually hit my bed before and trying to get my attention. And then it was wild. It was I turned around and I remember one day it was he tried to communicate with me twice, and one day he come in and I was like awake and then the whole room got cold and I could feel that like the energy and I remember I was in my 20s and I just threw my blanket over my head. I won't lie, and just like, look, I don't want to deal with this. No. And then like a day or two later in my dreams, it come back to me and was talking to me. And then I asked it the wrong question. I asked it what did it do wrong to keep it here in this limbo space, and it got mad at me and yelled and poofed, and I didn't see it again. But I
Mm.
never did find out why it was trying to communicate with me, but because I made it mad.
Yeah, it's always tricky knowing what to because you don't know what to say or how to say or what to ask or and I mean it's yeah it is weird when you have encounters like that. I haven't had too many when I'm asleep as far as not at least outside of family members coming to visit me. I've had that a few times. In fact, I was talking about that last night on my show with Jed and the Arcane Observer. Um, and but yeah, that's it's having something make contact with your bed or something that's right by you. It is startling. It's but yeah, I don't know. I think the whole communication aspect is always tricky because you have whatever it is that's there, whatever they're going through, and then your reaction to it, and then yeah, things sometimes work out where you can communicate, other times not so much.
For sure, for sure. We got a pretty good track going in the Rumble over here. We got quite a few. We got on YouTube. We got Matt with Temple of the Owl, he's another one of the you know shows on the Trouble Minds Radio Network. I can't even talk tonight. Why you used to?
Words are hard.
Yeah, words are hard sometimes. And we got John, we got Eric, and we got Sweets and Herschel, and all on the Rumble chat. So, man, we appreciate y'all popping in here last minute, kind of spurred a moment, and thank you, Sweets. Sweets just shared your website. Let's pin that on the.
Sweets is amazing, and hello to all the chats, and thank you all for being here as well. But yeah, Sweets is amazing. She does that on in the Trouble Minds chat as well. Sometimes I'll see it in there, so definitely appreciate that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm gonna open up my drink here. I have a can of sparkling flavored carbonated water here, so you're gonna hear a pop
Oh, you're
like
good.
that.
Yeah,
But
you're good. I normally have a couple cans here, and you'll hear on mine, and you'll hear one pop open every once in a while.
Yeah, I I try not to when I'm doing my show, um, but it's a little bit different when you're not on your own audio and you're not the one with all the controls and everything. So I want to let everyone
Yeah,
know what's happening there. But
John said, "Pop it, James."
yeah, I did. I did. I got that. That if Sparkling Ice wants to sponsor me at any point, or Ricky at any point, let us know. I got
Yeah,
that Sparkling Ice with caffeine because I'm trying to get off of pop in general, and this helps sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes.
yeah. Especially when the caffeine part is the hardest part with I think with sodas because you're so used to getting that caffeine buzz, and then all of a sudden, boom, you go from everything to nothing. And I know me, I I start having headaches, and
Yeah,
uh, it's rough. I do that. I do it when I had to compete or something like that. I'm cutting weight, and like last week, I'm cutting weight out, which I'll drop several pounds because I cut Dr Pepper out, and but yeah, my head is just trying to. Uh, I'm not a nice person that week. I guarantee that because I'm grumpy because my head hurts the whole time. But uh,
yeah. I deal with headaches all the time anyway because of my eyes being sensitive to light and getting eye strain. So when I don't have caffeine plus dealing with that, it's not good. I I make sure I'm never grumpy toward anyone else if I can, but that's yeah, I'm definitely grumpy for sure. So
it's not like you try to do, but it's just like your patience is a little shorter there,
yeah,
and you're already dealing with so much, and then all of a sudden, like boom, that's just added. I'm like, uh, so it's for me.
yeah,
It's that's my only crutch now. I've never done drugs, and I haven't drank
yeah.
alcohol in over a decade. So um, I don't even know what it is now. It's got to be getting closer to 12, 13 years maybe now.
Well, that's good. I also don't. I don't smoke or do drugs or anything like that. I do once in a while at parties or whatever, family gatherings. I'll have some beer or whatever. But other than that, I mean, I don't do that much either. And or holidays, I'll get some. But yeah, really, caffeine is my only. That's my only thing too. And but I don't like coffee, so I'm kind of stuck. I gotta get it from like I said, that sparkling water stuff or pop or whatever. So, but
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't like coffee either. My mom, she drinks the pots of it, and I even I I get on like every quarter of my day. She drinks it up before it happens, but I get that Death Wish coffee. It's like 200 times stronger than a regular cup of coffee. It's
wow,
got a skull. It's got a skull and crossbones on it and stuff, and she loves it. She loves that coffee, but uh, but I remember her taking me places and like to the mall, like here, I want you to get this drink, and I'm like, this is a blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay. Then I take a sip and I was like, it's coffee. No,
yeah,
no, this is blah 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 blah. I was like, it tastes like coffee. Like, here you can have it. I don't want it.
yeah.
But she gets so bad at me. My brother, my dad, everybody drink coffee. I don't know. I'm just the oddball of the group, but
No,
it's
I like a little bit of coffee with my cream and sugar. That's how I like coffee, as the saying goes. I've heard that before, and it's very accurate for me. I give me that cream and sugar, no problem. I'll take all that. Which at that point, why bother? So that's why I don't drink it.
my nanny was like that. My grandma, my mom's mom, she was funny. Um, God rest her soul. She would she would have her cup of coffee, and she put her spoon over the coffee, and she would start pouring on that spoon and just overflow. And I don't know if she's counting so many seconds or what. Then she dump and be like, that's one. And then she go on and start pouring again. Of course, I'm like, I don't know how much sugar she put in each cup. It had to be half a whole cup of sugar with her cup of coffee. It's just uh,
Yeah,
but the way she would do it, I only use a couple spoonfuls. I'm like, you use more a couple spoonfuls.
How big of a spoon are you using?
Yeah, and like and would overflow the spoon. It would just steadily pour in a cup,
Yeah.
in like
Oh yeah.
6 seconds, and then she dump it. Okay, there's one. I'm like, all right,
There, there's
whatever makes
there's
you
your
happy.
one that is really two or three.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Makes her feel better about it. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
yeah, yeah, I don't mess with the coffee. Mocha or stuff, anything that tastes like mocha. I don't like ice cream or any of that. I don't know. There's so many other better things I think, but
yeah.
people are gonna be like mad, like, no, there's no way you think that way about coffee. But yeah, I do.
The only time I drink coffee, funny enough, we were talking about this before you started recording or before you started the show. The only time I ever drank coffee was when I had to go to this training center for people with low vision or no vision to basically learn how to do certain things in everyday life that um, everyone else can do with vision that are harder to do when you don't have it. And I went to this place, and it's a government facility, so you stay there for however long you're going to this place. So it's has like dorm rooms and everything. But they had a schedule. Now I have not really been on a solid schedule since I was in regular school, and I've always been a night owl. And so the only time I ever drank coffee was when I had to be up at like 6:30, 6:30 in the morning every morning, all every day of the week, just about. Maybe 7 on Sundays, Saturdays and Sundays, but like every day I had to be up early in the morning. For me, early in the morning anyway. And that was the only time I drank coffee because I needed it at that point. And I would always mix it with like hot chocolate. And I'd always use like twice as much hot chocolate as I would the coffee, just to get rid of the coffee taste. And that's what I did to get by while I was there. So yeah, that was uh,
Nice.
that was necessary because I am not a morning person.
I'm not a morning person, but I I did for years for getting up to go to work, but I was I just was so good at what I did. I was pretty much on cruise control. I was kind of halfway asleep going all the way to work, and then I crank up the plant. I can get everything going because I used to run an asphalt plant, and I could I could do it in my sleep, and I really could. And probably my second Dr Pepper in, I finally be waking up to I'm better than, and but yeah, until I got probably two Dr Peppers in me, then I was just I was on cruise control. I don't know, early mornings not good for me, and which I'm glad on my schedule now. The earliest I go to the gym now is like 10:30, so I don't have to
Right.
be up till I don't have to be up till I try to get up by 8. I don't want to sleep my whole day away. I feel like I'm wasting it, but because then I'm losing up at like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. You know,
Oh yeah.
sometimes I'm podcasting or just looking at stuff or just can't sleep.
Oh, that's
So
with me. I sleep. I usually end up sleeping like twice a day for like 2 to 4 hours each time per day. Once in the morning, I'll go to bed at like 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. Get up at like 7 or 8 or 9 at the latest, and then I'll go through the day and do whatever errands I have to do, going out or whatever. And then by like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I'll lay down again and sleep until 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever. And that's how most of my days go. So, but try to get me up at like 7 in the morning. No, that's not gonna go well. That's that's like right in the middle of that time where I'm usually still sleeping. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could talk about that trading center if you want. I don't know if you've heard me talk about that before or not.
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think I have, but it's been a minute. So, and then might be a lot of other people that haven't heard it. So yeah, go ahead, let it rip.
Yeah, and then if you have any questions along the way, that's always the fun part too, is in sharing these things. But I because I was born legally blind, so I've always had that going on. and which in one way it was nice because it was always constant. Nothing really changed for most of my life until about a decade, 11, 12 years ago now. Um, but so I went to this place to learn how to basically live on my own, to do certain things, manage money, manage just try to learn how to clean. Although in my case that was even more complicated because I have no sense of smell as well as limited sense of touch and taste. So, but still, I mean, I learned a lot while I was there. But when I went there the first time, I was around 18, 17, 18. I think I was 18. Um, and this was in Kalamazoo in Michigan here. And of course, at that point, I was already turning into a night owl because I was like near the end of my high school years. And I was always a night owl. So when I got there and I realized the schedule they wanted me to be on, I didn't know what to do that first few nights. I was just up all night and I would just sleep like in the afternoons after dinner a lot of times. In fact, I kept that schedule there for quite a while. I'd have dinner at night, and while everybody else was relaxing, I'd be going to bed, and I'd be getting up at like 11 or 12 at night, and then just staying up the whole rest of the day, next day, and then do it all over again. But that's how I had my first couple of experiences there, because I would be in the computer room um, at the time that was there that you could use whatever you wanted to, and I'd be sitting in the room with the door closed because the doors were the kind that closed automatically when you once you open them, unless you had them um, held open with a doorstop or whatever. And I'd be hearing footsteps walking back and forth in the room behind me, and this was a small rectangular shaped room. And I would turn and look, and there'd be nothing there, and no one there. And you'd have to hear the door open and close. You'd hear that sound before anyone could get in there and out of there. And I even noticed the footsteps were happening in the middle of the room, and there were chairs that were in that same space as the footsteps, which was really amazing. At this point, I'd already had some experiences at my grandma's house and my cousin's house and everything, so I wasn't quite frightened of that. I was just really amazed that was happening. And so I started really with just footsteps, hearing them in different places around the building when I'd be walking around, and then in that computer room when I'd be up there at night. And so eventually, as I stayed there longer, they had a room that was set up to look like an actual apartment in the opposite end of the building, further away from where all the regular rooms were, dorm rooms were at. And this room was in the middle of all the classrooms. So at night, you were there in that unit all by yourself, except for um, the security or whatever, the monitors that would go through every once in a while. And I was transferred to this department to go through more training and things. And the first night I got in there, I noticed that as soon as I closed the door, I could hear um, I could hear tapping on the walls in the kitchen, which is a small square kitchen. And this was like in the middle of the evening, not quite dark out yet. And it was just knocks or taps or bangs on the walls. It was almost like a invisible ball was just bouncing around the room, hitting one wall, the other wall, ceiling, wall, countertop, wall, ceiling, just all constant noises. And and it would only happen when it was light outside. Once it got dark out, it would stop, which was always weird to me. But so that first night after I got everything moved in, all my stuff from the regular dorm room, I was sitting on this couch in the apartment, and it had cushions, but it had a metal frame. It was like an office kind of a couch, or waiting room kind of a couch. And I happened to just tap my fingers on the frame of the couch, and I did this once, and I heard fingernails tapping the mirror in the bathroom around the corner on the other side of the kitchen. I heard the fingernails tap out the same pattern as what I had tapped on the frame of the couch, and I was thinking, did I just hear that right? So I chose another pattern and tapped it out on the frame of the couch, and I heard that same pattern. And I tried one more time, and it copied a different pattern a third time, basically. And I got out of there. And of course, I checked down the bathroom later on, and there was no one in there. And I was the only one that had a key to the place other than the staff. So I don't know what was going on there. But, and this was all like within the first day I was there in that unit. I, um, I finally laid down that night to go to sleep. And I didn't want to turn off the lights all the way, which is unusual for me. But they had a dial on the light switch instead of a switch, and I just turned it down to as low as it could go without turning it off. And I laid down in the bed, and I started hearing a woman's voice talking, but I couldn't understand what she was saying, and it sounded like she was in the apartment. And every time I'd hear it, I'd be slowly drifting off to sleep, but then I'd wake up and it would stop. And so that first night, I actually spent a lot of time in the regular TV lounge until I was exhausted, and then I went back and I went to bed. And by that time, it was early to mid morning, and it was okay. But the weird thing about that voice is I heard it again another time, another weekday when I was there, while I was on the phone with a friend who had gone home. They had been at this training center, and then they had gone home. And we were just talking on the phone, and I was in between classes. They had it set up like school, kind of, where you had classes throughout the day. And all of a sudden, this voice cut in on the phone call, and it was that woman's voice, and it sounded like she was just reporting to her coworkers. And she said, "I'm coming down the hallway now." Also, forgive any other noises you hear from Logan, my cat, as she's wandering around. Um, she always has to make an entrance at some point in every
Yeah.
show. And my friend heard the voice on the phone too. So, because she asked what was that, and I explained, well, that's the voice I heard in this room the other day. So, this was the major stuff that happened my first time here. I did find another person that had been in the apartment, that same unit before me, through another friend of mine that was there at the time. And we went to talk to him about it because I was wondering if he had any experiences. And I started telling him about all these things, and all he would say was, "Yeah, uh huh, yeah." And eventually, I asked him, did you have anything happen here? Yeah, that's all he would say. And he was the nicest guy. Every other time you want to talk to, no problem. He could talk and carry on a conversation, no problem. But he would not talk about whatever happened in that apartment with him while he was in there. And I asked for a transfer as soon as I could to get out of there. So that was my first time at this training center. So I don't know if you have any questions, Ricky, but I went there again years later, so we can get into that in a minute too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Uh, having having the the tapping, the tapping and the mimicking your tapping and stuff like that. It was to think about, and uh, yeah, I bet you did have to wait till you got just exhausted before you go in there and go to bed finally. Just where it's just it didn't matter what they probably hit you with a bat. Then you were just so tired it didn't matter. You wake up, you would wake up dead anyway. Uh,
Yeah, it was wild. Yep.
yeah, John said they mostly come out at night. Mostly, said New Aliens, 1986. But I, I made a comment. I think it's kind of easier to see them at night, but if especially for someone like you, you don't you can't see that well anyway, so your hearing is probably more attuned. You listen more. I know. My dad's old boss, he was that way. He and you could get within. He was like completely blind. He couldn't see anything, and
Mm,
you could get within 100 feet, and he'd know you were near him, and say, "Hey," and I remember as a little kid, I freaked out. I was just like froze. I
yeah,
felt bad later because I was like, "Man, this." He was probably in his 60s or something like that, and I was a little kid, and I was pretty little teenager, like 13, 14, I guess. And he was just trying to figure out who was around him and stuff. But I was just like, I just froze. Like, how the hell does he know I'm here? But
yeah,
you're hearing more. More they say. More senses. If you have less of one, that the other one kind of compensate to kind of help you um, make up for the loss of of your other senses. So,
definitely.
ma-
It's funny you mentioned that with the him being able to hear when I used to go and visit my cousin at his house. If we were the only ones in the house, he would try to sneak up on me, and it took him years to figure out that that wasn't going to work. When there's only one other person in the house besides me, and all the floors are almost all the floors are a hard surface, I'm gonna hear movement. And I would always used to say hi as he was getting close. And he took him years to figure out that in order for that to work at all, he had to wait until we were at like a family gathering where there was just so much sound that I knew everyone was just moving around, all around me. And then he could kind of sneak up on, and not that he'd ever scare me, but he would just tap me on the shoulder. And, but of course I knew it was him because he's the only one that would do that. But
yeah,
yeah, my hearing, I think it's a combination of it gets better and you get more used to using it because you have to. Um, in fact, that's a lot of the training I did for getting around in on like getting around towns and cities, walking down streets and then crossing at lights and everything. Um, especially when you're totally blind, you're not relying on the traffic light signals. You're not looking at the walk don't walk signs because you can't. And
yeah,
they have ways of teaching you how to go when you hear the traffic next to you going in the same
okay,
direction that you want to go.
that
And
makes sense.
yeah, and it's terrifying to some people because they think, well, how can you do that without seeing what people? Some people can't see. It doesn't matter what the signs are all around them; they're not going to notice them unless they're
Right.
audio. Some places do have, the speakers that will say when it's safe to go or not. They'll say go or stop or whatever. Um, but not those are not everywhere by any means. And
Mm-mm.
so, yeah, definitely, hearing is. I've gotten used to using my hearing, and it's gotten to a point now where I um, I always have some kind of music or podcast or TV show playing when I go to bed because otherwise I hear every little shift of the sheets and the blanket and the bed and the pillows beneath me when I'm laying down, and it can be very hard to go to sleep when you're hearing all that stuff right beneath you.
I can see that. I can't imagine. I can't. I can't imagine really. We kind of like Daredevil. When he gets. I remember watching on the like the Netflix series. Even he got his bell rung and he was hearing everything. Like or like when he first got his. You know he could start hearing everything. And there's just an overload of voices
Oh yeah,
and so I mean, of course, it ain't on the Daredevil level, but that it's still I, it's kind of like there's truth in everything. Everything. Comic books and there's truth. Kind of like that movie Unbreakable, and he says everything's kind of been boosted up to, you know, for sales, but in the core of it, there's a lot of people that um, have special gifts or even can do like that. They're they have one element, so the others, are heightened, so they can, adjust and, or as like you said, over years, there's not just gifted heightened, just you're more aware and use them more. The more you use them, the better they're going to be. Like with anything, really, I guess if you use you train your mind, you can train your hearing, you can. But yeah, I can imagine you have to have once you get to that point, be you'd hear the mice running through the walls if you happen to have mice or anything if you didn't have some kind of sound going on.
Oh yeah, it really the way that they portray. I didn't see the Netflix series, but I did see the original Daredevil movie years ago. Was it Ben Affleck?
Yeah,
I
Ben
think it was.
Affleck.
And some of the ways that that they showed things happening with him, and his level of what he could hear, it's not far off, from what people, myself and other people I've heard before, what they experience, what we experience. So um, there are some places, some things like some kinds of music, some sounds where it literally hurts so much that in the moment all I want to do is get the noise to stop. I don't care how I stop it; it has to stop, or I have to get out of there. And it's so yeah, it is a thing. Um, Definitely, I can. I think there is definitely some truth in that. I always joke that I'm the real life version of Daredevil, where I have all of his super hearing abilities, but none of his fighting experience or training, or his physical fitness, because that's how I am. I have all the hearing, but none of the other things that he has going for him there.
You just had to start training, James. You just had to get ready.
I would be such a terrible student. I
Get
just
you.
uh, I don't like being told what to do, especially when it's stuff I don't want to do. I'd be that poor instructor. I've mentioned this before to other people as well, where they've said, "Oh, well, we could just get you into training." It's like you would not want that. I'd be telling you off constantly. Like, I don't want to do that. What do you make me do that for? That'd be terrible. So, but yeah, it is wild.
uh, I was gonna shout out Dave's Waffle House. He YouTube channel. Um, he has an awesome YouTube channel. Everybody comes together and talks, and he just popped up in our chat. He is all the way on the over in the UK. Listen to us, so he's
Wow.
staying up late. So I appreciate you, Dave. I know you're
Yes.
back lurking again now, so but thank you for letting us know you're here, and thanks for lurking. We're just kind of last minute. Trouble Minds had a little troubles tonight, so they're going to have a show tomorrow night, and James and myself, we're working on some stuff on my software, and for he can use it too, and we figured why not? Let's give her hell and swing for the fences. So here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm really glad that this worked out, and thank you for having me as well.
Oh
So
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, you had to check out. But back when we were talking about it, you had to check out the Daredevil. It's on Discovery. I mean Disney Plus now, but uh, yeah, it's Daredevil was really really good. It's slow. I liked it because in the movie you got just an hour and a half or whatever to just cram everything in there, and you
yeah,
try to cram backstory, and then you everything is just that's I kind of like the series because of that, because you got time you can build, and Daredevil season one, they sure enough they took his time, like he didn't even uh I guess a spoiler, since you hadn't seen it. I was a spoiler on one part, like he didn't get his suit until the last video in like the last episode, but I won't tell you no more about it. But like he actually had his full suit and stuff like that. So I mean that's how long it took them. Like they slowly built the character, and then Wilson Fisk, um, the is the guy that plays him is awesome, and it's really well done. It's kind of darker. Um, and yeah, just I know one episode he like yeah he got his he got hit really hard. I forgot what happened, and yeah, he the next day he couldn't even function. He was just sitting against the wall, and he couldn't even hear himself, and stuff was ringing, and he was just
Oh yeah.
it was just it was terrible. And finally, I don't know, like a half a day later, he finally like everything come back down and stuff. It was I was just like, man, I could imagine not being
Yep.
able to. People take for granted, how blessing they have. I know me personally. I know I'm lucky and blessed. Like I get to do. I get to that. For a lot of people in here know like a lot. I teach martial arts. I teach jiu-jitsu and MMA. I got MMA fighters and all that cool stuff. And I'm
Yeah. That's
lucky
amazing.
that I'm able physically able to do it. Um, and keep up with these young kids is what I'd like to say. But uh, being 45 and still trying to swing with these young 20-year-olds is fun sometimes, but uh, it's hard sometimes too. But I'm lucky. I'm truly lucky, and that's one of the reasons I keep doing it is because I'm like people ask me like, why do you keep doing it? Like even before I started like full like really really coaching and stuff, it's like because I can, like, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who can't, who'd love to
Yep.
be able to. They would be their greatest thing they could do,
Yeah.
and but for whatever reason they can't, and I'm like, well, if they can't, and I know I can. There's no reason for me to stop until I can't. And hopefully, knock on wood, that'll never happen. I'm gonna keep on keeping on for forever. So
Yeah. Definitely. No, that is amazing. That's I've always admired anyone that can do martial arts and do it well and everything. So yeah, definitely. That's a great thing that you're doing for people, and hope you can keep on doing that. So yeah.
I hope so. I had a gentleman. He's ex-marine, I think. He come in and uh, he gonna get some of the younger guys, and he kind of frustrated. Like, man, I don't know what to do. I was like, that's all right. I was like, we'll work on it, um, and I showed him some stuff because, like, I don't know if y'all can, the ones who are watching the video, whatever, or if you're listening, I ain't the biggest guy in the whole wide world, but I use a lot of leverage, and I'm able to use leverage against people, and I can sweep and throw and subdue a lot bigger people because of it, and that's what I was trying to show them and show stuff like that, and it's pretty neat to see. It's cool to see somebody's face and go, and their eyes like it just kind of click, like, and they're like, "Wow, that's uh, um, kind of, and in a way, it's like, wow, that stuff it actually works. I'm like, yeah, that stuff
Yeah.
works. What I'm showing you is real. If you're having
Yep.
troubles, it's okay because I mean, it's just your first time, and like you're in your first week, and we got guys been training for years, um, and then some guys are just young athletes, or just uh, and when you're in your 40s and 50s, and you're just trying to go against a young scrappy athlete, and you don't know anything. When you know stuff, it's a lot easier. But
Right.
when but when you don't know anything, and they got 30 years on you, youth, it's a long day, I imagine. But I'm lucky. I got a good group of. I got young guys, of course, their early 20s and teenagers and all that, and kids, and I got then I got some my 40s and 50-year-old and right around there. So I got a balance, and then I got my little 3-year-old. I got to tell that story. That little kid his parents bought him some gloves, and he had to sleep with his gloves on. He was so excited, so he
Mm.
couldn't go to bed without his gloves on the next night. And then like a couple days later, he got him a ninja outfit, and he wore it. He
Ah,
had the face mask, everything. He was in there, and it was the cutest thing you ever seen. This little 3-year-old running around, and uh, but he's a character. And like I got a bunch of them. I get some kids they want to help more, and like I can do it, and then some are just kind of lost, but it's cool. It's a bunch of fun though to be able to be a part of it all and do it.
yeah, I can imagine it is easier to learn certain things when you're a kid. That's something I noticed. I was told that back about 11, 12 years ago, when I realized that my sight was changing. I was getting the eye strain and the light sensitivity, and I decided I kind of needed to learn how to read Braille, which is, of course, a language system that is made up of raised bumps or dots on paper, but it's like a cardboard paper almost. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd heard of it back when I was a kid, of course, but I never needed it. But when I was going through that training at that center, the second time I went there, actually, um, they were explaining that you can learn this now. It's no problem. It's just that it's something that is easier to learn when you're a kid. When you're learning that as you're learning about just language in general, growing up as a kid. But it took me a good, I don't know, year or two to really get to where I could read Braille easily, and maybe even longer than that. I mean, I could read the 26 letters of the alphabet, no problem. But there's a lot more to it once you get further on than just that, and that's the part that took a lot longer to learn. But yeah, so I can imagine that.
Oh, I bet. I mean, kids are. I think they're wired that way. Their kids are wired to learn. That's what they're.
Hmm.
When they're young, that's when they're supposed to be learning. I know when I was between 3 and 5, I was speaking three different languages when I was that. I mean, I can't do it now. I can. I can barely speak one, let alone anymore. But um, but I could actually speak. But I remember when I came back over to the states, my dad was in the Navy, and we went to we were on a station on Guam, so I was speaking English and I was speaking Japanese and I was speaking Tagalog all at the same time. But the way I would do it is I would blend it together, so I'll be swapping
Hmm.
through as I taught. And when I came back to the states and they started at school, of course, teachers didn't have no idea what the hell I was talking about. Um, and they didn't know Japanese, and they sure didn't know Tagalog. That was the native tongue, for over there, and so they put me in. I had to be in speech class just because I was gifted with three languages and try to speak them all at the same time. But yeah,
Yeah.
of course, after time, I forgot them. I can count to 10 in Japanese, and I'm working on my Spanish, but that's about it. I need to get back on my Spanish again.
Well, what's funny about Spanish, I didn't. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It made sense after I found out. But my grandma had some friends that she made in the church that she used to go to. She's passed now for some years, but she had friends that she made at this church, and they all spoke Spanish, but it was different versions of it because my grandma was from the U.S. and from Mexico, basically. But she had friends that were from like Panama, I think, and like other countries in that part of the world, and south of Mexico even. And they all had slightly different versions of Spanish that they would speak, and they'd have to sort of um, switch back and forth between words once they figured out what words to use, and even use English here and there too. And so that's how they'd be eventually they all got used to using words from each other's languages, and that's how they would talk sometimes when they had to, is going back and forth like that. So that really is amazing to me because it was like three or four different people from three or four different parts of Spanish speaking parts of the world.
Oh yeah, and that's just on the basic words, and then we start getting into slang and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
really expands big. Some friends of mine, they're Cuban, and his my buddy Lennon, he used to have like his dad. He don't speak any English. I don't. I've never heard him speak any English. I don't think he knows any yet. But
Hmm.
he's always cool. The dude's got a there's a crazy note. That dude's got some of the biggest hands I've ever seen in my life. You shake his
Mm.
hand, he just cover your whole arm. Basically. I'm like, what in the world? But he's cool as can be. Um, I remember Lennon was we were driving down the road in his car and we were having a conversation, and I don't know how I was impressed, like how he could keep up. Like he was, his dad would say something, and he would turn around and tell me what he said, and then I'd say something, and then he would translate to his dad, and then he would back and forth, like and then he would speak something to his dad, and then he would tell me what he told his dad, and like it was just like almost
Wow.
overwhelming, for a second,
Yeah.
um, and I remember we went to a pool party one time, and I got over there, and and a lot of the people they didn't speak any English, and his uncle was there. He didn't at all. He was over there visiting from Cuba, um, on like vacation, and but I remember we because of what I do, jujitsu and wrestling and stuff. And the guy, his uncle, he saw me and Lennon and everybody and a couple of others were wrestling around in the pool and trying to throw each other in the pool and dunk each other and stuff. And I remember he come over there and he kind of looked at me and like, all right, you me, and he took his hands up, and I'm like, okay, you want to wrestle with me too? And like, man, that sucker had some uh blue collar mechanic straight. He was strong as all get out. But I finally got him. I finally got him over. But but it was just a good time, and it was cool to
Yeah.
be around people and just have that kind of. Even though we don't speak the same language, you were able to all get along and have fun.
There is something about people that do work with their hands a lot, I think. Um, I know my dad, he has been a guitar player now for over 50 years, and he's also done a lot of painting. Uh, he does painting buildings basically for a living. He has the strongest hands that I think I've ever felt. Like, and it's not that he does anything with them. It's just when he puts his hand like just on your shoulder or whatever, there's weight to that hand that does
I
not
just
make sense in a way because it's just he's not a huge guy otherwise,
Mhm.
but it's I think it's just because when you do that when you're constantly using your hands to do physical things for most of your life like that. I don't know. I think it can either that or he was just born with that ability. I don't know, but either way, it always amazes me when he just does that. And it's like wow, you can feel that there is strength there.
Oh yeah, it's that I tell people, when we're doing like jujitsu and stuff like that, like you can lift weights, and I've been against people that lifted weights all the time, or and they'd be big, and then they'd be a lot bigger than me, and then they grab hold of me, and they kind of look at me crazy, and like, wait a minute, I'm like, and it's the only reason it's like the same thing, like and then I've always worked with my hands. I worked at that um, asphalt plant, working turning wrenches and picking
Yeah.
up steel and welding and all that too. So I had to comp both of them, but um, it's those little muscles in between. And if you're just lifting one weight, if you're doing one exercise, it targets certain muscles. But when you're able to grab stuff and the little muscles the small muscles that connect to the other muscles, and you build strength in them, that's when you actually get that true like power of uh, true power. Because I remember years ago, me and my friend, friend Lennon, we he said, "Man, Ricky, go with me, and we're gonna go pick up a china cabinet." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I don't care." So we jumped in his truck and we went down there to go pick it up. And this guy opens the door and he's been working out and he's got like a spandex leotard suit on, big old arms, arms bigger around than my legs are. And I'm like, and then Lennon got on one side and then he got on the other side. And this guy is turning red and about to blow a gasket
Oh no.
and and carrying that bottom part of that china cabinet out. And and then I helped with the top part, and we got back to his house, and he was like, "All right, let's move." I was like, "Man, I don't know if I can't move this thing." I was like, "That dude was twice my size." I said, "Oh, it ain't that bad." And he reached down and grabbed hold of it, and it was heavy, but me and him moved it, and he's like, "You have a different strength."
Yeah.
He has, he just wants building for size and power, for the looks,
Right.
and and you actually have strength, that usable strength. And I was like, I guess so. It surprised me. That was one of the first times I seen that, where just seen somebody so much bigger than me. A dude was probably like 6 foot, looked like he about 190, had big old arms, and I picked up something a lot easier than he could. It was wild. It was to see, and then to understand that, it made me understand that, like you said, the mechanic hands, or the blue collar just worker hands and working, and like Matt Temple Isle, like bass player hands, like you, if you working them fingers, man, that's you work playing guitar. That's
Hmm.
Man, your grip strength is on another level of ridiculous, because your fingertips are callous and wore, because
Yep.
from on them strings. And I play a little bit. I can't play nothing. I can strum a guitar and make a halfway tune out of it. My brother can play though.
That's
He can
good.
he's got 12 strings and 6 strings, and he got a little bit of everything. I think he's got a banjo and all kinds of stuff. He loves all kinds of musical instruments and stuff. But
Well, I think that, I mean, when I mentioned my dad's, the painting company, um, for anyone that maybe has not done a lot of painting or whatever, or worked in that kind of field, there's a lot more than just the painting. There's carrying all the stuff from place to place, and you're talking 5 gallon cans of whatever paint or different things. You're talking about moving ladders, putting down ladders, and picking up, tearing them down. All kinds of stuff you have to do to get to do that kind of work. So that makes sense. That yeah, there's more to all that than just one action. There's a lot of different things. So, but yeah, definitely.
oh, for sure, because when you're pushing and pulling, and more you
Yep.
do, and then like with the wrestling stuff, you're pushing and pulling, and you're getting that different workout. Um, and it's a it's neat. It's fun for me. It's fun, like with especially and seeing these. I've always been like the smaller guy anyway, and I've always everybody always underestimated. Now I look at this old bald headed gray faced guy here, and they grab hold of me, and I just smile. And they look at me like, wait a minute. And even though they could be a lot bigger than me and stuff, I can I can I can hold my own, and then I throw them around and stuff. It's fun. I don't try to like do like smash people though. I don't believe in that, because
Right.
unless they're just going 100 miles an hour, then I'm gonna slow them down. But because I believe letting people work and trying stuff, and I don't want them to not want to do it no more, because I mean, think they can't. Well, this old guy
Right.
just smashed me through the mat. I can't do this stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, you can. Just and you'll be, because you're starting younger than I did. You'll be better than I could ever be. So I tell my guys, I said, y'all could. I said, I didn't start doing jujitsu until I was 27, and I was 28, and I said, y'all starting out at 19, 18, 15, 16. I said, y'all be better than I ever could be at the same age I'm at now, if y'all
Right.
keep up with it and keep doing it. So,
Well, I should probably finish my the training center stuff because
yeah, 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 yeah.
I heard that voice one other time after.
Oh
So
wow, really?
yeah. Um, so I went back there again, and I brought up the Braille because that's when I went back there again about 11 or 12 years ago. And what's funny is when I was told I could go back, at first I was told, well, you have to wait for a few months or so, or several months because they're renovating the place. Which, of course, oh, they're renovating the place and it's already haunted. Okay. Of course, anyone that looks into all these things, that's one of the things you hear about is whenever you go and change things around in the building, that can stir things up or calm things down depending on what's going on there. But so I went back there, and first night I got back there, it's funny because when I walked in there, it was night already, and people were sitting in the TV room, the main TV room, which is like a conference room, TV room, and they were watching one of the ghost hunting shows on TV. and listening to it. And I decided to just go in there and hang out with them. And I actually recognized a couple of them that were there that had been there when I was there over a decade earlier, at least one of them anyway. And as we were sitting there watching and listening in to the show, all the lights were off in the room. And those of us that could see, we started noticing we were seeing shadows moving around in the back half of the room that did not match up with any of us moving or the TV. And everyone was also hearing little bumps and bangs in the back of this room as we were all sitting there watching this paranormal TV show. And it was the wildest thing because it was a big room. And so when sounds came, it was pretty audible, and you could trace where they were coming from. And that was like my first night back there again after over a decade of being away. And I thought, okay, so there's going to be some stuff happening here again. Um, and all throughout that second time being there, I when I'd walk around at night, I'd hear footsteps in the hallways, sort of following, but never getting too close. Um, I also noticed that in the kitchen classroom, which was it was right next to where the apartment unit had been that I had stayed in the first time. That apartment unit had been they got rid of it, and I really wonder to this day if they got rid of it because they just had so many people just trying to get out of there as soon as they got in because of whatever was going on in there. Because they changed it into just a couple of small classrooms, and they did not feel the same when I went in there and had my braille classes. There wasn't that weird energy feeling there that was there before. But I think it just moved over to the kitchen. But it was only there. It was only you can only really feel it at night. During the daytime, I think there was too many people, and it hid, and so no one really noticed it, and I didn't even notice it in the daytime. But they would let people use the kitchen at night to finish making whatever they were making in the classroom during the day sometimes. And I went in there one night um, after I'd been in there for a little while again, and to visit a friend that was there finishing off making something. And I told them, "Oh, this room feels like the apartment used to feel. That's not an apartment anymore." And they said, "Oh, that's kind of funny you mentioned that because I was in here alone, and I happened to look towards one of the windows, and she said I saw a little boy, just the face of a little boy outside the window, and it was like it was just blue, and it was just there for a second or two, a few seconds, and then it vanished." Now, this is a place where you have to be at least a teenager to be staying there, like at minimum. There's no little boys staying in that building that would be running around, especially at like 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever it was at night. So I think whatever was in that apartment moved into that kitchen classroom. But anyway, so I noticed, or I found out that my friends were hearing bumps and bangs in their dorm rooms at night as well. I didn't have that when I was there the second time, but they were hearing that. On one of the last nights I was there, this is like the last night or the second to last night, we were all sitting in that front TV room again, and everyone went to bed, and I was still up, of course, on my laptop, working on that and listening to music on low. And I started hearing this sound of tapping on the windows in the back of the room that looked out into the courtyard of this complex. It was like a square kind of design, square shaped building, and there was there was windows and everything, but it was in the middle of winter there, and so there was snow in piles up against the building. So anyone that wanted to tap on the windows would have had to either have a stick or something or a long arm, or just tramp through a bunch of snow and possibly get walk through the bushes that were there to get to the window to tap on the window. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. Then I started hearing someone walking down the hall outside of the room I was in, And I looked up at the doorway, the door, because it had a window in it to look out into the hallway. But the lights didn't turn on, and they had those lights that were at this point they were motion activated or whatever, some kind of activation thing, and the lights never turned on. But I kept hearing the sound of someone walking down the hallway, and it sounded like they also had a cane, a white cane, which is what people use when they can't see. That's how they find obstacles and steps and things. And I was hearing this walking down the hallway, and but the lights never turned on. And so this all went on for a while as I was sitting there just taking it all in because, again, this was only about 12 years ago. I had already had even more experiences between the second time I went there and then the first time. And eventually, the sounds of the walking in the hallway stopped, and the lights turned on in the hallway, and the night manager or watchman or whatever you want to call them, supervisor, walked through doing their rounds, security or whatever, and and then eventually the lights turned off, and they went by and everything, and the sounds of the person walking down the hallway with the cane came again, and the lights stayed off. So eventually there's this louder knock on the window, and I look outside because I'm surprised by the louder knock, and it is my one of my friends who is really tall and could reach the window without stepping in all the snow, and he was motioning towards the room next door, and there was a door in that room that I could let him in through, and I let him inside, and he basically told me this story. He said, "You're not going to believe what has happened," and this is all just stuff that happened to him. So he went back to his room that night, and as soon as he laid down, he started hearing the bumps and bangs again. And so he decided, well, I'm going to try to record this on my phone. And he started the audio recorder on his phone and asked if there was anyone there, and then was quiet for a while, and then stopped the recording. And he caught something on there, and it surprised him so much that he wanted to come and see me, but he had to go outside and have a cigarette first because he was so startled by this. And he came back in and met this other friend of ours and tried to play the recording for that other friend, and the phone would not play the recording for the other friend, and he had no idea why it wouldn't work. So he went back outside again and had a second smoke, and that's when eventually he came in and knocked on the window for me to let him in. So he got his phone out after he told me all this and pressed play on it, and it worked. And it was a woman's voice, and I recognized it as that same woman that I'd heard twice in the same building over a decade earlier. And she said very clearly, looking for the one named James. And it was clear as day, and it was that same voice. And I was just floored because I've heard so many of us have listened to all the shows, watched all the shows, and heard, evidence caught on investigations. And it's one thing to hear that on a TV show where you have no idea how much is being faked or exaggerated or manipulated or whatever. This was on another guy's phone that did not have a television studio behind him to produce the sound on the recording. It was legally blind like me, so there's no way he's going to be manipulating his phone that much either, his cell phone. And it said my name, my first name, and I could not believe it. And after he played that for me, his phone for days it was messed up. So I guess it wasn't the last day. This was like the last couple of days I was there, but for the next day or so it was messed up, and it would not work right, and it didn't work right until he deleted that message or that recording, I should say, off of his phone. And then once he got rid of that recording, it worked fine. And I have no idea what was going on there, but it seems like whoever was there had been there for over a decade while I was not there. And I came back, and they told my friend that they were looking for me. So that's
Wow.
basically everything that happened over there. There's other little things here and there that I saw and heard, but that's the biggest stuff of that happened there, that training center.
That's a huge one right there. For um, I wouldn't know what to think. All of a sudden, like, hey, what happened to James? Where you at?
Yeah,
You made an impression on the spirits. That's pretty
apparently.
wild.
Yeah, I I really wish that my friend and I had better knowledge of technology and could have figured out a way to safely get that file and store it on my laptop or something. But at the same time, the way it was messing up his phone, I don't think that would have worked anyway. It would have just killed my laptop, which wouldn't have been good.
Yeah,
Um, but I really wish we could have gotten it. I could have saved it because it was clear as day.
yeah, I've been awesome to hear to listen to. That's
Yeah,
this means you're special, James. You have special gifts.
apparently I do, and that's the amazing thing is that's just one place that I've been to that I've had many experiences at. So I don't know. I've had people suggest that one of my the one of my senses that was heightened for whatever reason, or because of my vision being low, was my ability to sense um, other energies, other entities, beings, and other levels of reality. Because I've had so many experiences too when I'm asleep, with out of body experiences and parallel universe experiences, and just all kinds of weird stuff. So I think that could be possible. You know, given my situation, I really wonder how many other people who have any kind of a sort of a physical disability, as they're called, are also sensitive because of that.
That's a good question. One of them things I wonder. You know, you could way to find out, or like if there's any done by ever done a study of that. I wonder. Putting correlating the two of them together. Um, that's a I don't see why. I mean, it absolutely makes sense. Um, it makes sense. Like we said before, you get heightened senses, and that might be just one of their senses that are more heightened with is with the be able to sensing or seeing the the paranormal and because I truly truly believe the ghost like I've heard you say before a bunch of times like the ghost shows their shows they're fun but they're for TV so they do a little extra and the extra um, but you can't take away from there's actual true sightings and people seen from what real people seen um, there's there's so much in this world that I don't know we're ever meant to actually truly know um, how it all completely works. It's amazing. All the different things and we've on Trouble Minds we talked about like the parallel uh, versus multiverses or like sleep like I know I said something Friday night I think I was talking about I had you know I I fell asleep. I was dreaming I was in a different like and it was the same people were around me and but but I remember that I knew but it was like in just a different everything else was different. All the buildings, all the houses, everything was different, but the people were the same. I knew, and I remember I was like, well, I just need to lay down, and take a nap, and as soon as I laid my eyes and closed my eyes in that dream state, I woke up here, and it was
Yeah,
one of the most powerful things I don't know. Just recently happened to me. Just thinking, what in the world? Uh, uh, it was what was that? I mean, and
that's
maybe that was just. Go ahead.
it's yeah. No, I'm sorry, but it is. It's just so wild because I've been having one or two of those kinds of experiences. I've been having them at least once a month for the last several months now, sometimes twice a month, where if
Mm.
it literally does feel like I'm awake and I'm in some other version of the universe that I know, and I'm with people that I know, but they are slightly different, and there's even other people with them that look like they're related, but they don't exist here. My favorite one example of that is one of my times that I had this experience where I woke up in the living room of the house that used to belong to my mom and my he was my stepdad. He's not. They're not married anymore. They divorced years ago. But I was there, and now at this point in this universe, the only person that lives in that house is my former stepdad, my half sister's father. But in this other place, I was there visiting the family, and my mom was living there, and I woke up in the couch in this living room of this house that I knew very well, and I heard footsteps coming down the stairs because apparently I guess I must have made a noise when I appeared or when reality shifted or something. I don't even know what really why they were coming down the stairs. There must have been some kind of sound that I made, and my mom came down, and a little boy also came down the stairs. Now my mom and her ex-husband, they never had a boy; they had one girl, but this boy looked like he was their son. And my mom seemed to recognize that I was not exactly her son, and I could tell she was not the mom that I knew here. She was slightly different in her personality, but she recognized it and was actually saying, "Don't worry, it's okay, everything's fine." And the thing I got out of that was, okay, I've appeared here before or something, because she was not afraid of the stranger that somehow appeared in her living room in the house. And but she recognized it was me, but not maybe not her version of me. And then
Yeah,
everything started to fade, and I fell back asleep, and I was out of there. And it's just so wild because that recognition was just that was the wildest part about that was she recognized that I was not supposed to be there.
that's wild. I know I've had like when grandparents and stuff who's passed, and I go, in that deep lucid dream. I mean, it does seem like it's just like it's a parallel universe. It really does, and and I always think about um, it makes me wonder more now because I've thought about this. I've always thought about this in another way. Is like as you go through life, you got spots in your life, and as I've got older, it's completely made me think about like you're going through, and all of a sudden you're like, this is going to be start a new chapter in my life. Like
Hmm.
this is if I go this way, it's going to completely change the path. If I go this way, it's totally change. It's a completely crossroads in your life, and whichever way you go. And it's like years ago, I was supposed to go spend the summer with my grandparents, and I didn't. And I know like the possibility of that, like if we stayed living on Guam, instead of my parents had talked about that, not even coming back over to the mainland. It was actually staying over there. But my great aunt got sick, and my parents came back to help take care of her, and so I'm I might still be. It's just um, and I think about that is like okay, I've had that situation happen. Okay, but what if in another parallel realm or world my parents stayed over there, and then I got to see, there's a me living in that world there that got to stay over there, um, and which that'd be pretty cool. Just get to spend the rest of my life on a island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, tropical island. But like stuff like that. If I gone here, if I done that, if hadn't gone to this different job, and um, just I wonder now that we've seen, and now with this part. of these lucid dreams. Like, I know we're both having a similar style, and a lot of other people are. Is, are we able to tap in to see maybe some of those other possibilities? What we could have, woulda, coulda. If something different happened. It's, if, like, my grandparents are still alive. If they hadn't passed away, I could, um, what would have happened? It was just truly. I don't know. I might think about stuff too much in the middle of the night, um, when I can't sleep. But that's what I've been kind of processing in my brain was, we the possibilities of truly this, multiverse, parallel universes that we can actually see. Kind of like with the Avengers movie when they plucked the Mind Stone out of the timeline, and the timeline went a different direction, maybe, and then so one went one direction, the other one went the other direction, and maybe the possibilities of that where you can actually see what actually is going on, and but just in a dream world, what could have would have happened, and how you could control it. It's my curiosity. How could you control that to where you could actually see what you want to see? Like, okay, if I want to be able to see this path here, or um, would you really have to truly meditate or take psychedelics or something like that? I wonder. Just curiosities, that's what I like to say. Curiosity. I know it killed the cat, but I do have a lot of curiosity. Drives me to look and want to know.
Yeah, it does me as well, but only to a point because one of the other experiences I had, um, I actually wound up in that same house, and um, I knew I was in again one of these other places, and I wanted to get back home to where I'm at now, and so I tried just closing my eyes and going to sleep, and it took me 3 tries before I could get out of there, and so that's why I don't want to ever really try to have more of these experiences because then of course I worry or I wonder, could one get stuck there? Is that how in some cases when people just vanish from inside their homes or whatever and they are just never found anywhere, did they somehow transfer themselves or get transferred to some other alternate universe? Because I literally was, I felt like I was stuck there for a few seconds as I tried to go to sleep. And I'm, it could have been a great universe, but it's still not what I'm used to. It's still not the one I'm used to living, being in here. And who knows how different it would have been there.
For sure. I wonder when people were like, um, people say, they see the point to the light and stuff like that. Like, I wonder if with people like have comas and stuff like that, I wonder if they're running around in a different um, realm then, is able to see. Overlander over here on the YouTube chat said, they said you were astral traveling and you met her in her astral state. Um, it's a good possibility there. Um, I believe also, I believe that you can have people come to you in your dreams and speak to you. Like that's alive. Um, if you have maybe that deeper connection, um, I had some. I was talking to somebody about it. Actually, I won't even say where because I don't want to put that out there on them. Um, but was tell me stories and stuff, and uh, in dreams in that realm. And I told him, I was like, I had it happen to me. I had an ex come to me. Um, we were together for several years, and she come to me uh, in my dreams and was just upset, and about I'm apologized to me, telling me that how much they did, and I was like, I was like, look, you got what you wanted, it wasn't on me, and I remember that, and I remember I actually when I woke up later, I actually I texted her. The only thing I had still had like access to, I think, was she hadn't we hadn't blocked each other on one something. I think it was maybe on Twitter or something, but and I was like, look, stop stop messing with me in my dreams. Stop.
Yeah.
Get, this ain't this ain't right. And it
Yeah.
never happened again. Like I didn't have that same never come to me again, and maybe, and I told him, I said, you might have to do that. That same situation, you might have to actually speak up, and maybe subconsciously is just their subconscious wants to speak to that person so bad that they are their astral traveling and talking to you, and they don't even realize it. You have to actually let them know, like, hey, stop. I know I had to do that, and it ended it right away. It completely the whole I didn't. Um, to this day, she really hadn't. That situation has not happened since. It was happening pretty regular there for a second. It was just like just boohoo. I remember. Um, and I just like I told her, I said, you got what you wanted. And I was like, leave me alone. And I
Yeah.
texted her that next day, and I said, look, that last time I was like, look, leave me alone. I
Yep.
was like, I gotta be able to sleep. I gotta be able to go to work, and I can't
That's the
be.
thing. And, people asked me before, well, you have these amazing experiences while you're asleep. Don't you want to work on that and get those abilities even better and have those all the time? And I'm thinking, I've said no, I don't. I need sleep, and these things they don't really. When they happen, I don't wake up energized. They, they wear me out, and so no, I don't want to encourage that to be happening more and more and more. I have a hard enough time sleeping as it is without before I even get to sleep and have any of these experiences. So, and I understand the curiosity and people have and wanting to hear more about that from people, and nothing against anyone, but I just my answer is always no, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, it's a lot of that stuff. Uh, and I'm curious on stuff, but it is like but I don't want to. I don't want to be put in that situation. Like like psychedelics and stuff like that. You hear,
Yeah,
I don't want. I'm scared of all that. I'll straight up. I ain't scared of many things, but um, I joke around. I'm like, man, I ain't scared to fight anybody. It's alive. But I
right.
don't mess with spirits and stuff like that. I don't mess with them. And like the curiosity's there. Like I want to know about it, the stuff and the that kind of thing. But actually trying to poke the bear, so to speak.
Yeah,
Like the psychedelics. I don't want to.
no, I know.
That ain't me.
Same here. Yeah, I already have enough experiences. I don't need to be taking things that will add more experiences to everything. I'm good there. But yeah, the some of what you were talking about there makes me wonder. I've had a couple of experiences where I've had dreams of being with family, different sides of my family at places, and it was like we were on a vacation or at like a family reunion. And I wonder if if I was actually there with them, um, in the astral realm somehow. All of us were really there, but they were just two experiences I had out of all these years. I wonder if they even um, would remember them after the fact, or I'm just curious now. Do they even remember those dreams, or do they just remember them as think of them as dreams or whatever? But they were so vivid that they felt like more than dreams to me. And I've had so many other. I can usually feel the difference between like a regular dream and any kind of like out of body or the parallel universe stuff or any of those things, astral travel. Those things all feel different than regular dreams to me. They always do. I don't see anything clear, like my vision has never been different in all these experiences, but there's just a feeling overall of it being more realistic, these experiences, than just regular dreams.
Yeah, I've thought about, like, of course I sent that one text that time, but like other than that, I've curiosity, again, it's just like I want to ask people like, hey, what did you dream last night? Kind of deal, hey,
Exactly.
were you were we together last night? Hanging out at such and such or something. Just ask him. But he's like, and then he kind of in the same way, but like, man, I don't want to be think I'm totally damn nuts. They already think I'm crazy, but they don't want me. I don't want them to think I'm batshit or something. Uh, but I do have that curiosity sometimes. But I do have them super lucid, super like you talking about. It's like, man, I wonder if they're actually there at the same time too, and the possibility is they probably are, and they're just, and they might realize there is a dream, or they might think it's like we're talking about now, and again, in the same boat, it's like, who do you talk to about that kind of thing? Like, hey,
Yeah.
we have a great group that we can talk about this stuff, but a lot of times, but who do, but yeah, really, who do you talk to? Like, oh, by the way, did you know? Were you were we at the were we at this mall at the in your dreams last night and really freak somebody out if they were at that mall at the same time or whatever it was, it's
Right.
wild as the possibility there. It's pretty neat to think about. I mean, and probably one day I might just have to just bite the bullet and ask and see
Well,
what they say.
it's funny what I found. I have my dad and my stepmom have made me a couple of they've gotten me a couple of hoodies that have my podcast name on it, and one just has the name. One actually has the logo and everything on it. And I found that wearing those out in public, you know, that has actually gotten a couple of conversations going here and there. And so I really wonder if that's, what it's going to take for a lot more people to do is to wear that kind of clothing that has that kind of subject matter on it, um, to get to that, I don't know, that kind of conversation going more. Because otherwise, how do you know who is into that and who is not? And I mean, it's going to let people know that aren't into it that, oh, I don't probably don't want to talk to this person so much, possibly. So there's the downside, but then the upside to that is, I one of the the most amazing things that happened to me because of that. One time I go to the same stores, the grocery stores all the time, um, and I went to the store one day, and as I was walking up to the customer service counter to get help with shopping, I'll have one of the people from the store go with me and find the best prices and everything for me and find things I'm looking for. That's something you can do, at stores if you have that certain disability. As I was walking up to the counter, the one of the managers was talking with someone at the counter, and I heard them say, "Oh, you have to talk to this guy about that. He's into that kind of stuff." And of course, the guy that she was with didn't want to say anything, and she told me he was just telling me about how he's heard knocks at his bedroom door lately that he can't explain. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And she was like, "So it doesn't mean it's evil? It doesn't mean it's a demon?" I was like, "No, not automatically. I mean, if that's the only thing that's happening, then it's really hard to say. But I would guess if nothing else is happening, then probably not. I don't know who or what's there, or why they're there, or, why they're trying to get attention. But and it was just this weird timing of me getting there right as people were talking about this, and having the clothing on with the podcast logo and everything on there, and yeah, it was the wildest thing. And I passed out some. I had some people there notice the hoodie and everything, and I've had business cards made for the podcast as well, which reminds me. Dang, that reminds me. I need to get new ones made now because I have the new website. Anyway, sorry about the shop talk there, but just made me realize that. But yeah, it was just so funny because how did that timing work out? That's the kind of stuff that makes me wonder about, like, is there some kind of universal consciousness that arranges these things in rare situations? Because I don't know when I'm going to be going to the store until I find out, and they don't tell the store when I'm going to the store. It's this transportation service I use. They don't contact them. So just this random encounter that I had with someone that had an experience and someone else mentioning, oh, you should talk to this guy about it. It was really wild.
That's cool. Yeah, I've had situations so many times over the time, and like I had one. See, I don't want to say where because I don't want to like I know it disowns somebody. It would
Right,
narrow somebody down. So I don't want to do that to nobody. But
right,
um, and then I had such a deep conversation and with somebody, and I'm and one of my I know truly gifts like I've been able to do like what Trouble Minds able to do. I've been able to do for years, like in person sometimes. Like I've had, I mean, I remember I had, I was sitting in this apartment complex in the parking lot. We just kind of sit around, and I had a big religious discussion. It wasn't a debate; it was discussion. With I don't know one person was like Wiccan. It was all kinds of just different. One person was Catholic. One person, and it was a bunch of different people there and just having conversation. Like we have all the time. And I've always been blessed to be able to do that kind of thing. And I had somebody talk to me the other day and was asking me about dreams and different religious stuff and everything. And we had it was cool because we normally don't get a chance to talk like that, but we were able to talk like have that deep conversation on it. And having run into people, I have like I've done that before, and have people just have start opening up. And my grandma had that gift, like she could talk to anybody. She walk up to anybody, and all of a sudden, and you walk up and like this is such and such, and then she'd tell me her whole life story because that's what they just told, and I got a piece of that. I got a piece of that gift from her, but um, we. But I've had that happen a bunch of times where people just start coming to me and then start talking, and once you open up and I had one of my truck driver friends, and I've talked to him for years a while back. And I was over there welding on his truck one day, and we got in this started talking, and we got in a deep conversation about all kinds like conspiracies and um, or critical thinking, I like to say, but and all kinds of different subjects. And I was like, man, I said, well, you need to. I said, well, if you feel this way, I said, man, for real, you need to check out my podcast. I was like, you need to listen to my podcast because I'm talking about all kinds of crazy stuff like this. And it's cool to be able to talk to people and open up, but it is hard to see, and maybe that's what it takes. Um, you know, maybe we need to wear shirts, like, showing that we have a different point of view. And, um, or, maybe to help us, people come up, and kind of see something, to see alien shirt or, one of Trouble Mind shirts or something like that. Um, and maybe that'll, open up somebody to, come up to you, see it and ask you a question. Oh, about that shirt. Where'd you get that shirt? And then it opens up that door, of conversation. And because they know you're, maybe they'll give them that comfort that, you at least for a little bit, like think on the same wavelength as they do, they're not alone. Because a lot of people do, they think they're alone on all this stuff.
yeah,
And they don't have the family and the group like we have, which, which if you're not part of the, I'm gonna do like Mike. I'm gonna do like Mike Strain. Like, if you're not part of the Discord, you need to check out the Discord because James has his own Discord also with Salcedo Paranormal, and in the Trouble Minds Discord. Check them two out. Um, and then maybe one day I'll get mine going. But check it out. And Temple of the Owl, he has his Matt. Matt has his own Discord also on. Uh, and check them out. There's a lot of great people on there, and you can if you're just the first time listening to this conversation or anything like that, just if you're lurking in the background, check out those discords. And there's a lot of great people. And if you feel the same way of this, then for sure check them out, and you'll find a group that'll listen to you and won't judge you for and think you're crazy for sure. But you're not crazy. You're just special and seen a lot of amazing things. A lot of people have never been able to see before.
Or at least you never hear them talk about that they've things that they've experienced before. I think that's a huge part of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one thing listening to all the shows I've listened to over the years, people that do the big conference thing. They go to conferences and they speak there, or they're part of groups that speak there or present there. I can't tell you how many times I've heard them say, "I did this event, and then after it was done, uh, several people came up to me and said, I don't really believe in any of this stuff, but I had this one thing happen." And then they'll talk about something that is completely in the realm of what they don't believe in, and yet they swear it happened. But they won't do that in front of everyone else because of the stigma against all these things. And so it takes sort of just putting yourself out there as much as you can, I mean, as much as you feel comfortable, and being open to having those kinds of conversations with everyone. I think is a really that's the main reason why I do what I do is for the podcast. Is That's the whole reason I started it. When I first was looking into it, I was thinking, well, there's already so many shows out there, that cover all these things. And but then I just started realizing, I don't really care. I want to get in on this too. Even though I was never used to talking before any of this, I always thought I'll just be a writer. Get me on a microphone? Nah, I don't think so. That's not going to work. And apparently it works. So but yeah, I think it's just that being open and recognizing when people do want to talk about these things, pay attention and be be kind and understanding and just listen, even if you can't think of anything that you really had to say about whatever experience they had. Just listen, because just listening is a huge part of all this.
For sure, and there's especially in the spiritual and the paranormal and this kind of realm of the thinking possibility. You know like Strange says all the time. We're not. There's no definite answers here. We're not. This. And there's no like do this, do this, do this. Boom. Here's your answer.
Yeah,
It's we can't give that because I mean everything is. I mean a lot of stuff is truly tailored in my mind is tailored to each person, and what they've lived through and their life experiences, and and so that's why we get to talk to each other and learn, and just different skews, because everybody's had a different life situation, uh, all kinds of different things, like me, like your situation, James, with you, legally blind all your life. I can't imagine, all of a sudden it happened to me, man, I'll be running into walls and lost a goose, um, I never got the situation that, but in the same thing, there's a lot of uh, we can learn from each other, and I've used to joke at work, uh, and somebody tell me, hey, if you do this and this and this, something bad's going to happen. Okay, and then I listen to them, and then and they're, well, why don't you, like if they've already gone through their plan, I don't have to learn it myself. I can use somebody else's experiences to learn the situation too. If I just sit back and listen, if I can be hard headed and try to, force something or whatever, and then I'm gonna tear something up or whatever. The same thing with this. If you can sit back and listen to other people's life situations and life stories, and then you can pull out like, wait a minute, oh, you know, like we both talked about tonight, James, about having uh, that parallel universe of going to sleep and having being in a different world. We both had that same dream type situation happen. We can live and uh, we can listen to the different stories, and maybe there's others out there like, wow, I've had that same situation, so it helps them cope with it. I'm like, hey, I'm not alone. I'm not the like we said earlier, I'm not crazy. I'm not. Nothing is just you just had an amazing situation happen, and you don't know how to explain it. So, and if you're around certain people, and that's the good thing about our group that we have, we can have discussions and bounce ideas, and um, it's a it's fun. It's good to have a great group of people that can, and it's got great minds of um, we can bounce ideas off of and learn from each other.
Yeah, and that's really a big part of it is just learning what you can while you can, and being okay with admitting you don't know what's going on. I always feel like there's been so much put out there about that ghosts and aliens or cryptids are all different, separate things, and they're all sort of they're exactly this way and that way, and that's it. But the more you look into so many people's experiences, there's so many overlaps in between what they're experiencing, and I think in so many cases we may be using the same word to describe different things, or the opposite. And so I it's really funny because I I I, I would never call myself or say to anyone that I know what's going on here, and which is why I don't call myself an expert. I allow other friends to do so in certain cases, but I would never want to say that I am, and I never try to tell anyone what they should do either when they have these experiences, thinking that they'll be able to just have them stop if I tell them to do this or that. No, I have no idea because I've heard cases where people have done the same things and had different results. So how am I supposed to go and tell someone what to do and expect it to be the same every time? No, that's not what I do. I think all we can do is share the information that we are able to find and say this is what we have found so far, and these are the patterns and these are the differences, and keep doing that. And yeah, we may I don't know if we ever will for sure or not, but we may never get all the answers. But at least we can be get closer together and get more and more people looking at all these things. In the meantime,
For sure, for sure. Um, I absolutely agree. It's um, on a different. What just popped in my head, which I joke on my lives on Wednesday and stuff. It's just we if a lie is part of me, it's just going to be like ADD and all over the place, no matter what. Well, no matter how hard I try to keep it in a box, but it's. I was thinking too. It's just like it always amazed me. With archaeological stuff, and the pyramids and stuff like that. Like people don't like to talk to each other. You have archaeologists don't like to talk to geologists,
yeah,
and it don't make sense. Like, hey, y'all come together, and that way y'all can come together with a better number. If you work together, you could find more. But they don't want to share facts. They don't want to share information. And you see that over and over again. Um, and that's how you learn possibilities. Even uh, I don't understand people or situations where you don't want to have you know different ideas and different looks into it. Even with was it doggone it, I'm brain farting as hell.
that's okay. I'm just thinking, even when it comes to governments getting involved, where they have a narrative of how they think everything happened, and how their country came to be, and how their famous landmarks, their famous buildings came to be, and they want to have things be a certain way because it makes them seem better, or makes it seem in their minds like it validates why they're there. And I think I've heard of that in different cases around the world over the years. I don't want to say which one's offhand because I don't know for sure. But um, I mean, look at all the shows there are out there about Egypt, all the different podcasts and shows about everything that's been found there, and all the discrepancies. Depending on who you listen to, as far as the age of everything, and how it was made and how it wasn't made. All those. I mean, that's a whole huge topic that has been an argument and series of arguments. I guess that's been going on now for years and possibly decades.
Oh yeah, over 100 now. Really,
Right.
um, for a long time they said, well, there's, especially with the Egyptologists and stuff, and I remember watching all the like the Egypt shows and kids and world history. I was in, um, all them old. What was the name of the one that had Leonard Nimoy, talking and doing the narration, and then we
Oh,
had
there's In Search of. There's that one. I know he did Ancient Mysteries or something like that for the History
Ancient
Channel for a while
Mysteries.
too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ancient Mystery. That was the one I remember watching as a kid and stuff. And watching all them shows, and but like, well, but the they were hunter gatherers until 6,000 years ago, which that never made sense to me. Like, why all of a sudden just a freaking switch happened in these guys' head? Like, let's just start building buildings and structures. Like, how
Yeah.
is that? That don't make any sense. I said, there's something missing. There's somewhere in here missing. There's got to be something missing in my mind. And then you get now we found like Gobekli Tepe. There's well over 12,000 years old, and then even if you bring that to the minds of the Egyptologists, they're like, well, that's too far away. Like,
Yeah.
it's not it's not that far. It's just right up the coastline, really. If you're really looking at the uh, migration of things, it's people could have walked there in not that long a time.
Right.
You a couple months people could walk. You could walk there from go Tepe down to Egypt. It wouldn't be a fun walk, but
Right.
uh, you could. Especially back then, and that's how they got around and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
you
It's not like it is now, where people have the luxuries of sitting down in an object and having it move down a road that was made for the object to be on, and then get out of it, and then they're there.
yeah. Because they showed like even the Vikings being over here, and so many different. Um, you know, it seemed like everything like in our generation of what we were taught in school is like 75% of it's wrong now. Like all of it's wrong because because they found so many new things, and like, well, of course, back, Columbus, 1492, Columbus sailed the blue and all that, and
Yeah.
um, and even um, and talking about he found India. Of course, that whole thought process, they didn't even call India back then. They called it Hindustan, but
Mm.
um, so it like people get mad and like, well, that's why they call them Indians. Well, that's not why they call them Indians because the place wasn't even called India at that time, but that's where he was trying to go. But it's how trying to blend our modern understanding of where places are and our names and trying to smash it on the past and understand that like a lot of those names have been changed over the centuries and millennia. But I back to my point though is like, man, why can't more of these people talk to each other? You got they had that big debate. I remember Robert Schock and Mr. West. That documentary came out. It had old Charlton Heston narrating it back when I was a kid. Talking about the Sphinx and the. I was amazed by that. I was one of the ones that like, man, that's got me asking questions and uh, seeing that because and it made sense and especially like when they showed Robert the the Sphinx and showed him all the weathering and stuff without showing the Sphinx, and like, well, that's that's water weathering. He no doubt. It's like I 100%. And then he blew it up and showed where it actually was, and then we kind of I remember Robert Shaw was like, do I really want to step on these toes? And then it turned into a big old debate. Of course, then the Egyptologists and the archaeologists were like, oh, there's no way, and there's no civilizations that old, and uh, it's. I was like, put yourself in a box, and you never. It don't make sense. Why narrow your frame of mind? Like, be open to this stuff, and like prove it and go through the facts and and then like these sites too, like it's so much older. You can see these sites that were built on older stuff. You can see these monster base stones, and then you see buildings built on top of it, and you know that if you dig down deep enough, you would find thousands and thousands of years of history. But they once they get to a certain point that fix their narrative, they stop. Like, okay, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, and
I
yet
won't dig no
places.
more.
Yeah, and yet you see all kinds of headlines over the last few years. This site is thousands of years older than previously thought. That building is thousands of years older than previously thought, and it's just like, okay, well, isn't that funny? Haven't people been saying that already for years about so many places? And
Yeah, and
now now it's like, oh yeah, everything is older. Okay, you couldn't have accepted this before. It cracks me up.
yeah, a lot of people lost their accreditations
Yeah,
and lost, their professors at universities, and they lost their jobs and their accreditations and everything, trying to speak out, and just because they brought facts, and now the facts are becoming more and more uh, known and known as true. But you feel bad for, like, and that's just the ones that got slid by. How much stuff over the years has just been covered up, and because to push a narrative of what they think is supposed to be. It's we're I think that's part of our missing history, is the covering up the narrative. Like, I know, like, the Smithsonian has covered up so much stuff. Um, I know that the like there's a boneyard there in Alaska, and the guy was just looking for gold, and started finding mammoth tusks and saber-toothed tigers and all kinds of stuff. Um, and they where they should not been, like the time frame, the year frame, they should not been, and woolly mammoths, like full skeletons. And they sent a bunch of bones to the Smithsonian to get tested and everything, and then they wouldn't let them have them back, and they didn't. And then they dumped them in the Hudson River.
oh
And the
boy.
guy, and then he actually just got a Twitter account. What is this Twitter account? But he went on Joe Rogan, and he was like, "Look, they're right here. I'll tell you where they're at." And people went into the uh, Hudson River and found start pulling out mammoth tusk and stuff. And so I mean, it proved that uh, it proved that the Smithsonian for sure covered that up. And it's the thought process. That they covered up. Giants and skeletons, and for years, um, and now, yeah, it's called the Boneyard, Alaska, on on Twitter. He's got a Twitter account now, and it's pretty wild. He went on Joe Rogan. If you go through there and go back through some of the Joe Rogans for a while back and check it out, it's a pretty cool podcast, and him talk about it, um, and just amazing what he's finding, and that just using water.
I wonder how close that boneyard is to because I've heard of there being one of those triangles there, the Alaskan Triangle, similar to like the Bermuda Triangle. Um, years ago, I heard about this, where planes would go down in this
Hmm.
one part of Alaska. I wonder how close those two are to each other.
I haven't looked. That's curious. That's a good curiosity. I remember watching the documentaries and stuff on the all the triangles, Alaska Triangle, and
Yeah,
um, I watched. I was going through Prime one day, and I was sitting there, and I was trying to find something to watch. And of course, like Prime, like gives you ideas, like this would be your, you
right.
might like this because of what you watched. And I was clicking on them, like, oh, I've already watched that. And I click on something else. Oh, I already watched that. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I
damn.
hear you. I hear you.
Like, damn, I watched all this shit already. But yeah, especially late night, to sit there. And some of it's watched me a bunch of times. I turn it on and start watching it, and then I go to sleep uh, listening
Yep.
to history, I guess. But it's pretty wild, all the um, Temple of the Owl. Matt said they moved the giant bones to the Vatican. There's a lot of stuff in that Vatican archive. I I wish we could get access to. Um, there's lots of history there. I think they are kind of covering some stuff up, and probably some stuff that would rock this world, um, if some of it got released. But
Yeah. I do wonder too
there's
with that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, that's what. Go ahead.
I was just thinking. I wonder if there's any other. I mean, the Vatican is fairly well known, but I wonder how many other major religions have major, huge archives similar to what the Vatican has that we never even hear about because it's sort of a lesser known or lesser. It's not as popularized. Whatever religion it is not as popularized as, let's say, Christianity and the Catholic Church and all that sort of is. I wonder how many other similar archive libraries there are around the world that also have just stuff that would completely change everything.
For sure. I mean, there's of course there's rumors and conspiracy like that like the Library of Alexandria has actually got um, moved to the Vatican,
Mm,
and it's actually in the archive. Um, it's I bet I'm sure there is. There's a lot of stuff like we hear a lot of stuff like for us. Um, we hear a lot of European and stuff like, but there's a lot of amazing stuff over in the Asia and stuff. Like I don't think we
yeah.
get to hear as much as we. Some of they cover up their own, like like the pyramids, the Chinese pyramid stuff, and they're putting
Yes.
trees on them to cover them up for. They don't want nobody messing with them.
Yes. And that's
It's
so
a
sad because the trees are gonna just destroy everything over
yeah,
time. They're just the roots are just. We were talking. Wasn't it on your show or somewhere else? I don't know. I forget. So many shows that everyone is listens to and or is part of. But the roots of those trees are just gonna they're just gonna tear everything up. I think it was your show, one of your live shows.
yeah. We were talking about Go Pepe Tepe. They're finally pulling them trees
Yes.
back out because
Okay,
they planted them
that's what it
and
was.
and they're like, oh no, it's gonna be okay, and
Yeah.
Dibble and Flint Dibble and all them were like, oh, it's gonna be fine. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like that. I mean, stuff like that just my brain just boils. Like it none of it makes sense because I mean, if you got trees in your yard and the roots are going to take out, it messes with water pipes
Yeah.
and tears all kinds of stuff and concrete and driveways and all kinds of. I mean, in your house
Oh,
foundation, if you let it is close enough. What's it
yeah.
going to do to an archaeological site that's underneath it that the roots are going to grow down through? I mean, like
Stones that have been
you're
worn
supposed
out
to be
by.
smart people. These are supposed to
Yeah.
be smart, intelligent people, and they do the dumbest things in the world to me.
Yep. Yeah. That's with all that ancient. Well, it's like even with in Egypt. early days of before there was really archaeology, people were going into those pyramids and using explosives to get in, and that's just that just always I cringe when I
Yeah,
think about that because I mean I get it, they weren't thinking or they weren't aware or they didn't
they didn't
realize they
care.
could preserve things or they didn't care. Yeah, but still, it's like if you're there to explore the thing, why? Sure, blow it up in the process. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, it's like the one going on right now, like the Curse of Oak Island. I like watching the show, and I'm intrigued by it. And I kind of think something happened there years ago. I don't know if there's still treasure there or whatever,
Hmm.
but something major work was there done. But like right now, they door all these holes, pore holes down in this thing. They hit wood. They're pumping water in there. Like if there's, like well, there might be old, parchments and stuff like that. If it is, y'all destroyed them. Like
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely destroyed them. If y'all did do anything like that, and then they're gonna put these big caissons down there, and they're gonna dig a hole. Like if they're off just by a little bit, that caisson is gonna cut treasure or whatever
yeah.
artifacts in half. Um,
That
you know,
island always blows my mind too, because if they're digging all these holes, they're gonna. I mean, they're probably not, but in my mind, I can just see a cartoon of an image of an island and all these holes being dug into it, and all of a sudden, the whole thing just like sinks because like they're just dug so much out of the bottom of it that it all falls in on itself. I don't know. That just that's scary to me. I wouldn't want to be dealing with any of that.
yeah. I mean, for sure. You're weak in the ground, and it's
Yeah,
uh, I don't know. I'm like, I mean, to me, it'd be better just to if you know kind of general area, you dig the whole little area up. I mean, it truly. I mean, yeah, you build a big old hole, but you could slowly come down and uh, I don't know. I mean, you just keep drilling holes and hitting the crap and you're
yeah.
flooding it full of water and I just like I don't know what they if they do find anything, what's going to be. It's going to be if there's any kind of parchments or anything like that, it's destroyed. Ooh, almost flipped my chair.
Oh, don't flip your
Um,
chair. It doesn't sound good.
no, that one I've done it once before with the other chair. I haven't flipped this one before, but I flipped the other chair before. Uh, Pretty funny. Oh, well, I got this one, my good old $5 Goodwill chair. Uh,
Yeah, you gotta have a chair when you're doing this kind of thing. That's for sure.
yeah, the other one was not as comfortable. This one's comfy. It's just this one's all right, but it's got all the little. I try to cover it up, but it's got all the like an old leather chair, or whatever. But all the little plastic, the covering on it's coming off.
Oh yeah,
It's
they'll
coming,
do that.
and so that it flakes off, and it's all over my floor in here. And I sweep them. I sweep it up every. I just let it go about 2 days, and then I sweep it up. It's gone on the armrest now. I've actually pulled every bit of it off the armrest, but it's still some on the seat, and so I just kind of cover it up. But I mean, it's comfortable. I don't want to get rid of
Yeah,
it because it's comfortable. I might when I move. I guess I might get me in a good seat, but right now it'll be okay. I got other priorities.
yeah, yeah. No, that's it. Priorities. Uh, gotta have those. But yeah. Well, thank you for having me on. This has been great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad it's Let me see. Let me pull up what we got going on. Oh, 2 hours and 13 minutes so far. So um, yeah, yeah. No problem, James. I appreciate you coming on and appreciate all the chat. We got a bunch of chat. Any shout outs you want to do before we get off here?
Just of course to everyone who listens to your show and also to my show, my podcast. Michael Strange, of course, Trouble Minds. He's helped so much with a lot of my things and just being there and giving me tips and on how to do things and all of that. And yeah, just everyone that ever listens to any of these shows that any of us do, because it's it's a lot better. It's a lot more fun to do these shows. I'm not watching chat right now, but it's a lot more fun to do these shows when there's people around there with you. And so yeah, I appreciate everyone that is always here.
Oh, for sure. The chat's fun. Like it's. I think that's one of the best parts. That um, for the ones that don't know, I go live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. For the ones that aren't in my time zone, and so and we have a great chat. Sweets and hikers always there. Both of them, I got to shout both of them out because they're always there every week, and then we've been steadily adding more and more people. So um, please make sure you go to James's channel, YouTube, and you're on Spotify and other places too, aren't you, James?
Yeah, Spotify, I believe Apple or iTunes still, Amazon. Let me see what else. I mean, Podbean, 'cause that's where I started out. But yeah, all those platforms, and then now with the website, you can just find all the shows right on there too, as they are released. In fact, that's what I'll be doing here when I get done with talking with you. Is I have a show to release here in a few minutes. Well, soon. So yeah, and the website, that's salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Has all the episodes as they are released, and then all the other links as well.
Nice, nice, and we're both on the Trouble Minds Radio Network. You can check it out. You can listen to a lot of amazing shows. Um,
It's on
we're
all
on
day.
Spotify.
It's
Yeah,
on all day.
24/7. You can listen to it.
Yep.
We're um, I have tomorrow. I'll have my one of my shorts pop out. I don't even know what it is this week, but um, see what it is. I'll tell you what it is this week. Um, I have shorts come out every Monday, and then Wednesday we have our live, and then I have my pre-recorded come out live. It's lots of cool. I try to keep a lot of content for everybody and different stuff. I talk about all kinds of different subjects and a little bit everywhere. Let's see. Uh,
Excuse me.
oh, this Monday is talking about what the human body generates. So you'll have to wait to hear what the human body generates. But all kinds of different subjects on there, and you can follow me on. Um, I got a LinkedIn, and you can not LinkedIn. I do have a LinkedIn, but I got a um,
One of those link tree things.
yeah, Linktree. That's the word. I had half the word right.
You did.
So I got the
Words are hard.
Linktree. Yeah, I got the Linktree, and so you can click on all of it. I'm on Pandora. I'm on Spotify. You name it. If you don't see me there, let me know, and I will get right on it and try to get my podcast there. So please subscribe and share on mine. Please subscribe and share for James's, and help us grow, and we'll keep on bringing you great content. He has some of the best paranormal um, stories. You're gonna hear that. Uh, you don't have to listen to all the big boys and big shows. There's a lot of great ones like James out there, and a lot of amazing stories. And um, so check that out. I know you got Jen come. She comes on and co-hosts with you now. On
Yeah,
so
that has been amazing, Jen, the Arcane Observer. It's been she's such a great co-host, and yeah, we just cover a topic every week, every Saturday night. Sometimes we take a couple weekends, couple Saturdays to cover a topic, and the fun thing about that has been we've been sort of figuring out the topics. They've been coming out of previous shows as we've been talking, so that has been a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, please check out the Arcane Observer as well, and you can find her links in my episode description every time I put out a show. And yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because I really do appreciate having her on the show. She helps me. It makes it easier. Having her on the show makes it easier for me to make more shows, to put out more shows, because there's always research in making these things, and with my eyes, I
Yeah.
can't do as much as I'd like to with that. So, yep.
It's a lot put into all this. Like it's for us to put out a 25-minute, 24-minute show. It's there's a lot of work that goes into it. It really is, but it's worth it because everybody enjoys it and one everybody's, for sure. I want to do my shout outs. I like to do Dave's Waffle House, my buddy from the UK. Check out his YouTube channel. He is he's a wild man. He's good as gold. He's wild and crazy. He has fun. He's enjoying life and having fun. He's got a good group of people in their chat. A lot of times he pops up about 2 o'clock on the afternoon a lot of days through the week,
Okay.
Central Time. He's full energy. He's wild. He's Matt's Owl, Temple of the Owl podcast. He and Sweets on the YouTube chat. Let's see anybody else popped up on YouTube. Overlander, BC. I'm sorry. I scroll through here and make sure I don't like missing people. And like I said, if I ever got huge where I got monster chat, I couldn't do this, I guess. But
Yeah.
Overlander, BC, I appreciate you for coming on the Rumble. John 5B, thank you for continuing to and coming back. North Vixen, thank you for coming in from Minnesota.
Ah,
Minnesota, yeah,
I got some
yeah.
snow up in that region. I know we do here in Michigan.
Ooh, y'all can keep it. They're talking about some
I
snow this
don't.
week for here. I want to
I
send it,
don't.
shove it back up north. Y'all,
No.
I like it
Well,
down in the south.
you can send up north, just not towards Michigan. North, some other
Okay,
direction.
okay, all right. North Dakota range, I guess. We'll send it towards North Dakota. They need
There we go. I don't think I know anyone there, so I think I'm safe with that.
there we go. Uh, how do you even say that? Aborge Minji. I think that's Eric. Yeah, I forgot that was Eric. Uh, again, hiker emoji. Always here every week, and even popping up on our last minute little show here. Just me and James put together. That's like, hey, let's do this. Okay, let's do this. So I'll make sure I don't miss anybody else. I appreciate y'all as always. Keep coming back, and y'all, what makes it me want to keep doing this? On Herschel, can't forget Herschel.
Ah, yes.
Um,
I have to thank Herschel as well, real quick.
yeah,
He did a show with Michael Strange a while back and talked about doing a lot of writing, doing his writing in the mornings. And I tell you, that morning work thing, that I don't like mornings, but I've been using that. So I have to thank you, Herschel, for bringing that up, because I've gotten a lot of writing done myself that way. And I get my daily research for the shows done now in the mornings, and it's made a huge difference in just the strain in my eyes and everything. It's not as bad because I get it all done right away, first thing in the day. And so yeah, really definitely appreciate Herschel and everything he does as well, for especially for also for the network for KUAP as well. So yeah.
yes, sir, for sure. And I see you got Fogmoss 1776. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, I do appreciate y'all. You know, um, I don't I know me personally, I don't make any. All I do is spend money to do this. I truly do,
Yeah.
but it's well worth it to me because I enjoy it, and then the content with everybody. Um, when people pop up and say, I never heard about that. That's cool, and it comments on my videos, and it's like cool. That's my goal is just to kind of spread stuff that people hadn't seen before, and um, I think once I get my check mark off, I might get a little better on my guideline check mark. I get it off, I'll be doing better. Uh, growing my channel, maybe we'll see. I'll probably just get it right back again. I don't know, but I try to behave. But sometimes it's hard, especially on Wednesday. Let me shout out Jamie Grant and Dave. They're my co-hosts on Wednesday live. We have fun um, chatting it up, and we're gonna bring some extra special guests on here and there on that too. So um, I appreciate it. Again. I always get to the end. I always keep saying it. Again, I thank y'all for being here and appreciate you. And I appreciate you, James. and for coming on. And I guess, and as always, y'all keep on keeping on, and the peace and the chicken grease. Y'all be good.